What do you know about newspaper editing, Clive?
About as much as you do.
Welcome to WatchMojoUK. Today we're counting down our picks for the most brutal, hilarious and shocking incidents when controversial celebrities were served a large slice of humble pie from the Have I Got News For You team.
Then he went on, there was another one of our leading spokesmen who is half black, and that didn't get a mention. No, it didn't get a mention because no ordinary people speak like that.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Number 10. Jeremy Paxman.
Am I in the presence of a group of yoga enthusiasts?
No, just people with vague knowledge about what's going on.
For a comedy panel show that specialises in satirical jokes, Have I Got News For You always benefits from a guest host who has a funny bone. But sometimes the producers miss the mark with who they've booked. In 2018, BBC Newsnight legend Jeremy Paxman took on the hosting mantle, even though he very descriptively refused to do so several years before.
On Ian's team tonight is a BBC business presenter whose Middlesbrough accent meant she was told to take elocution lessons, as was I when I left old Glasgow.
On top of doing a dreadful Scottish accent and making many controversial jokes, Paxman's attitude was bizarre towards panellist Steph McGovern. After several jabs from him, the Steph's Packed Lunch host called out Paxman after she got a question right by calling him a patronising git, but disguising it as a joke. Number 9. Roy Hattersley. When Have I Got News For You was but a young show in 1993, then Labour MP and former Deputy Leader Roy Hattersley was meant to appear on the show. The producers were probably hoping the third time was the charm, since the politician had cancelled twice beforehand. This time, Hattersley dropped out at the last minute, leaving Have I Got News For You with rage. So rather than put a person in as a replacement, they went with a substitute that Angus Deon described as sharing the same qualities and likely to give the same performance: a tub of lard.
So, as his replacement, liable to give much the same performance and imbued with many of the same qualities, we're delighted to welcome a tub of lard.
Brutal. Impressively, the lard was on Paul Merton's team, and they went on to win the episode.
Linguistic competence sees us winging our way to the end of this round programme and indeed series, and the final showdown seems to have ended with the hardly satisfactory conclusion that this week's down and outs are Ian and Tony with 16, and this week's upwardly mobiles are Paul and the tub of lard with 20.
Number 8. Eamon Holmes. In 2020, the world was struggling with the global pandemic. Unsurprisingly, instead of supporting and keeping people calm during this difficult period, Eamon Holmes used his time on This Morning to promote the conspiracy theory that 5G technology was involved in spreading COVID-19.
I totally agree with everything you're saying, but what I don't accept is mainstream media immediately slapping that down.
Yikes. On top of being criticised by everyone and forcing Holmes to walk back his comments, Ian Hislop wasn't going to let that go. With the Have I Got News For You team working from home, Victoria Corin Mitchell posed the question of whether this 5G connection could be true.
Might this be true, the 5G thing?
No, and one of the giveaways is that Eamon Holmes said it might be.
Immediately, Hislop said no, since Holmes believed it.
Now, as soon as someone talks about the British press as state media, you know they've been on the internet too long. It really is time for them to go out in the garden, have a bit of sunshine, and stop believing complete rubbish.
Hislop continued his onslaught against Holmes's opinions, even telling him to get off the internet and go outside. Number 7. Gary Neville.
Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News For You. I'm Gary Neville.
In recent years, athletes have turned their attention to the world of politics for various causes, one of which is former footballer Gary Neville. In 2022, he was handed the guest hosting role on Have I Got News For You shortly before he was set to commentate at the controversial FIFA World Cup in Qatar, which had raised concerns with human rights and the LGBTQIA+ community. During the episode, Neville awkwardly asked Hislop if it's coming home about England's chances of winning the trophy.
Ian, is it coming home? What, your reputation?
Instead, Hislop responded if he meant Neville's reputation. This sparked the journalist into launching a scathing attack on Neville's hypocrisy of working there, as the England international looked incredibly sheepish and gave weak responses.
And what's the defence? Football term.
For commentating there? Well, you've got a choice, I think, haven't you?
What, going or not going?
Well, my view always has been that you either highlight the issues and challenges in these countries and speak about them, or you basically don't say anything, you stay back home and don't go. And I've always said we should challenge them.
There's another option. You stay at home and highlight the abuses. You don't have to go and take the Qataris' money.
Number 6. Nigel Farage. It's not every panellist that gets their own segment on Have I Got News For You to mock them, but then again, not everyone is Nigel Farage. In 2014, the former UKIP leader was on the show when host Stephen Mangan introduced the Fruitcake or Looney segment, where panellists had to determine which identifier UKIP members were. This was referring to David Cameron calling Farage's supporters and fellow politicians with those adjectives.
I'm just guessing.
Yep.
Fruitcake.
I'm afraid that's the wrong answer. He's a loony.
Mangan used the opportunity to slate the party. As Farage laughed along, it only got worse for him as his expenses scandal was brought up, leaving the politician looking very nervous.
That was Nigel Farage. The same Nigel Farage who in 2009 revealed that as an MEP he'd claimed in expenses £2 million.
In 2015, while not on the show, Farage called the police to report Camilla Long's joke slating South Thanet and the controversial politician.
There were two old ladies playing poker, and I thought, oh, they'll vote for Farage. And they hadn't heard of him at all.
Number 5. Angus Deon.
This has been one story of the week, isn't it? But the one I'm really interested in, Angus, is...
Younger fans of Have I Got News For You likely don't remember that the show once had a permanent host with Angus Deon. After being in charge for 12 years, the presenter's life spiralled when reports came out that he'd used the services of an escort and took illegal substances. Instead of hiding away, Deayton presented the show amid the scandal, even opening it with a self-deprecating joke. And Hislop and Merton were merciless in their verbal jabs.
Angus was the best lover I've ever had, and you didn't pay her.
Hislop read extracts from the News of the World while mocking the content. Deayton looked like he wanted the earth to swallow him up.
I wondered if she was wired. She was wired.
Don't think she was the only one that was wired.
Later, Merton unzipped his hoodie to show his t-shirt, which had the story printed on it.
It's really, to go to all that kind of effort is just unbelievable.
A few weeks after this episode aired, Deayton was fired. Number 4. Quentin Letts. How journalist Quentin Letts has been on Have I Got News For You several times is a bizarre mystery. In 2017, Joe Brand hosted an episode and opened by discussing the House of Commons sexual harassment scandal. One of the allegations involved Michael Fallon being inappropriate with Julia Hartley-Brewer in 2002. Letts showed sympathy for Fallon by calling him brave, as Hartley-Brewer is a big, strong girl.
He's brave. Hartley-Brewer, big, strong girl.
Gross. Brand immediately corrected him that she was a woman. She soon launched into a celebrated monologue that criticised the panel for trivialising misogyny.
It doesn't have to be high level for women to feel under siege in somewhere like the House of Commons. And actually for women, if you're constantly being harassed, even in a small way, that builds up and that wears you down.
Brand later brought up Letts' comments from the week before about wanting to tickle Polly Toynbee to cheer her up, which he tried defending and made everyone uncomfortable.
So you said tickle you under the armpits and make you smile, my dear.
Yeah, well, why not? She could do with it.
I think the pinning her down bit's not great.
Number 3. Boris Johnson.
No. Oh, no, oh, no.
Oh, what are you doing under the table, Boris? You're not going to pop now, are you? Don't wipe your hair, for God's sake.
If it wasn't for Have I Got News For You, we perhaps wouldn't have gotten Boris Johnson as Prime Minister. While still a journalist, Johnson was a panellist on the show in 1998.
What country was that the bit was chipping off then, Boris?
Antarctica.
Oh.
Antarctica, apparently. So good they named it twice.
From the start, he became clear fodder for jokes from all sides. But in 2002, then an MP, Johnson mentioned Jeremy Paxman and the presenter's involvement in a book he'd written. Johnson then took out a copy to plug it. However, on top of pointing out that the title of Johnson's novel was different from the jacket to Inside the Pages, Deayton commented that Paxman was also writing his own book at the time on the pointlessness of politicians and had chosen to follow Johnson during the election.
He followed you around on the election trail.
That's right. Yeah.
But isn't it because he was writing his book? And his book seems to be about the pointlessness of politicians.
Yikes. Number 2. Jeremy Clarkson. In 2008, while still presenting Top Gear, Jeremy Clarkson hosted an episode of Have I Got News For You. During it, the controversial presenter uttered a derogatory joke about Manchester. Hislop immediately called him out for it, but clearly it got under Clarkson's skin as he threw a pen at him, cutting his cheek.
Do you think I wrote those?
No, it's like when I read your column, I think, God, I wonder who did this.
In 2015, after leaving the BBC due to Clarkson punching a Top Gear producer, he returned to host Have I Got News For You, allowing every panellist to take aim at him with their jabs.
Are you certain it's Amazon Prime and not Amazon past their prime?
Richard Osman's verbal shot was a particular highlight by asking Clarkson if he had signed a deal with Amazon Prime or Amazon past their prime, referring to the car host joining the streaming service.
Could be any of us, not you.
I don't know, old bloke called Jeremy with extreme views.
Number 1. Piers Morgan. The polarising TV presenter and former newspaper editor Piers Morgan has only made one appearance on Have I Got News For You, and it was memorable for all the reasons he would hate.
I just thought I'd say that, in case the viewers got the wrong idea by this vindictive attack on me, personally. Carry on.
You're feeling a bit vulnerable.
In 1996, Morgan was a panellist on the series shortly after leaving News of the World to work at the Daily Mirror. Throughout, Hislop took exception to Morgan, so much so that he jokingly accused him of spying on him. At one point, Morgan reused Eddie Izzard's gag from the previous episode and complained about the poor reaction.
Is the answer jam?
Not in so many words.
Because last week Eddie Izzard said everybody roared with laughter. It was hilarious. I just thought I'd say it.
People like him.
Hislop stated it was because people liked Izzard.
It's jam. You see, Piers?
So that's comedy.
Tensions got high enough that Deayton quipped if they wanted to go outside and fight. Since then, Hislop and Morgan have been in a public and long-running feud.
He is charming, isn't he?
Who's been your favourite host on Have I Got News For You? Angus Deon, Joe Brand, Alexander Armstrong, David Tennant, or someone else? Let us know below.
Calm down.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojoUK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.